I don't know you, but me, as a second-generation immigrant, I've spent my whole life wondering, what does the identity Chinese actually mean to me? Sometimes that we feel we are not Chinese enough for our relatives, but sometimes we are too Chinese for the country I'm living in. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So today, let's stop wondering and let's overcome this identity crisis. But before we get into the politics, the culture, or the passports, I want to introduce you to someone. This is Lucy. To the average person, she looks like a random ape. She lived about 3.2 million years ago. Now, some of you might be thinking, hey Terry, I clicked on a video about being Chinese. Why are you showing me a monkey? Because this monkey is literally your ancestor. She's the beginning of the human race. She's the common mother of the 8 billion people currently walking on this planet. Whether you are sitting in a high-rise in Singapore, a farmhouse in Iowa, or a country yard in Beijing, your biological source code traces back to her. I start here for a reason. Often, when we talk about identity, we act like we dropped out of the sky 5,000 years ago as a finished product. But that is not the case. So before you talk about the Han people, before you were Singaporean, and before you were overseas Chinese, you were and still a member of human species. If we can't agree on that biological foundation, the rest of the conversation is just noise. In Chinese culture, we are raised with a very specific set of values. Regardless of whether you are Christian, Buddhist, or a free thinker, there's one religion we all share in common, the worship of our ancestors. We are taught that not to forget where we came from is the ultimate sin. There's a Chinese idiom for this called 数典忘祖. It means to forget one's ancestral lineage. Lately, this phrase has been weaponized. If you live overseas, if you don't support a certain political narrative, or if you don't speak the language correctly, someone will inevitably point a finger at you and scream, "You have forgotten your ancestors." But let's look at that logically. If you really treasure your blood, then you can never forget Lucy. She's the great-great-great-grandmother of the ancestors you think you are honoring. When people use ancestry to guilt-trip you, they aren't talking about your blood. They are talking about a cage. They want to define your roots in a way that serves their agenda. However, my roots go back to very first campfire, beyond any dynasty in the history. If I'm honoring the original mother, how can you tell me I have forgotten where I came from? My lineage isn't 5,000 years old border, it's a 3 million years old journey. Then here comes the critics. Hey Terry, you are talking about biology. Being Chinese isn't about Lucy, it's about the culture. That ape didn't have any culture. Fine, let's talk about the culture. Let's talk about authentic Chinese culture, if you like to. There's a strange irony that many people in mainland China don't understand. If you want to see authentic Chinese traditions, the stuff your great-grandparents actually did, you often have to leave China to find it. Think about it, the stage operas, the specific ways of worshipping ancestors, the intricate lion dances, and the clan associations. These things have been preserved with incredible care in Singapore, Malaysia, and Taiwan. Why? Because these communities were the time capsules. Before I came to Singapore decades back, I was a young boy living in China. And I will be honest with you, I never saw or heard of these authentic traditions back home. My first exposure to traditional Chinese values, concepts of brotherhood, loyalty, and ancestral outdoes didn't come from my school or my neighbors. It came from watching Hong Kong mafia movies. In the mainland China, during the mid-20th century, there was a massive system reset. The four olds were swept away. Much of what you see today as Chinese culture in the mainland is a reconstruction. Take the viral Hanfu campaign as an example. It's beautiful, sure, but it didn't survive organically. It was a commercial idea that originated from photography studios and portrait albums. But in places like Penang or Singapore, that Hokkien temple isn't a commercial idea. It's been there for generations. The people there didn't learn to be Chinese from social media trend. They stayed Chinese while the rest of the world changed. So, if you are a Malaysian or Singaporean Chinese, congratulations! You don't need to look forward to any motherland for cultural validation. In many ways, you are more authentic in your practice than the people you think you are supposed to be copying. But these people like to challenge further. They say, hey Terry, it doesn't matter how you feel. Without a powerful China behind you, you are just a second-class citizen in the West or in the Southeast Asia. You need a strong motherland to give you the dignity. Honestly speaking, I couldn't disagree more. This idea assumes that Chinese is a political concept rather than a cultural or ethnic one. Let's look at my home, Singapore. We are a multiracial society. Regardless of whether our ancestors came from China, India, or the Malay archipelago, we have the same political rights. I have the right to vote. I have the right to meet my MPs to discuss my difficulties. If I'm sick, I get subsidies. If my children need education, we pay $8.60 per month. And if there is a crisis overseas, my government will evacuate me, not because I'm ethnically Chinese, but because I hold a Singaporean passport. I saw Prime Minister Lawrence Wong get emotional recently, and it resonated with me. That emotion comes from a shared journey of building something from nothing. I don't find myself in a secondary tier of citizenship because I work hard to blend in, to learn, and to respect the local customs of the land that actually fits me. In contrast, look at the stories from my father's generation. They lived their lives in China without ever hearing the word election. They never met a representative who was accountable to them. And there is the kicker. Even though they were Han people, the majority of the China, they felt like second-class citizens in their own country. Why is it so? Because of the preferential policies, 优惠政策. To maintain stability, the state often give priority in school enrollments and the subsidies to ethnic minorities like Manchus or the Hui people. The average Han person often felt neglected by their own country. So tell me, who has more dignity? The person who is first-class ethnic majority in the country where they have no voice, or an overseas Chinese who lives in a democratic society where they have a vote, a voice, and a stake in the future? Dignity doesn't come from the size of the distant country's navy. Dignity comes from your rights as a citizen in the place you call home. To wrap this up, I want to share something personal. When I was younger, I used to be struggle with my identity every single day. I felt powerless and angry when someone makes jokes on me or call me Chinaman. I couldn't refute it, but I would think, how could I be a Chinaman? Growing up eating chicken rice, bihun, and nasi goreng. My brain is wired by the street of Singapore, not the streets of Beijing. I spent a very long time to overcome this identity crisis. But today, I finally found the peace. I realized that the identity crisis only exists when you let other people tell you which of your labors is the most important. The people who want to control you will let you know your blood or your political loyalty is everything. But they are wrong. What matters is the life you live. What matters is how you treat your neighbors, how you raise your kids, and how you contribute to the society that actually supports you. Being Chinese is a heritage. It's beautiful, complex, ancient gift, but it is not a cage. You don't owe your identity or to any government at all, and you don't need to pass the test to be authentic. So, stop worrying about whether you are Chinese enough for the world. Just worry about being human enough for yourself. Thanks for listening to The Rant. I will see you in the next one.